So, what happens when two third-generation Arizona women authors who are passionate about their state start talking about experiences, insights, and memories of different places? They don't stop talking. They write a book, and then they start a podcast. Welcome to Celebrating Arizona with Julie Morrison and Lisa Schnebly Heidinger. Grab your favorite drink and settle in. We're celebrating Arizona, going everywhere from A to Z. And we're off.
Yes. Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
I don't know what time it is where anybody else is.
Time to exhale and breathe in.
Yes.
Celebrating AZ. Yes.
Isn't that so? Amen to that.
Yes.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah, I had a really interesting morning, which may become a poem at some time. Well, it's already a poem, and I may share it sometime on the show. But I have different topics for today. So,
Okay.
but I'm
Well,
but I'm well.
give us a safe word so that when you do share it, you'll say, "Remember that day I said I had a poem?" So then I'll
Yes.
know that this is that poem. So just give us one word.
Okay. Well, it'll be two words: public works.
Okay. I know
Hmm.
almost nothing about public works. I will look forward to being further educated at some point down the
Uh-huh.
road.
Yes.
All right. Well, today you get to lead off.
I
So
get to
I've got
lead
my
up.
coffee cup, I've got my bag, I am ready to go. Tell me where we're going.
Okay. Well, we're going up to Flagstaff, and this is uncomplicated enough in navigation that even I can give the directions. It is I-17 north to I-40 east to the Butler exit, and we go even further east almost until it quits. Oh, and now I can't navigate because I just know where I turn. I can't think of the name. But anyway, it is just shy of Lake Elaine. You turn east again and wind through the neighborhoods until you are at the east side of the lake, which is still named Lake Elaine, even though it is no longer a lake. It is more like a puddle or a beginning wetlands. At the edge of that, we'll still call it a lake because it knows itself that way. And being called a puddle is just
Just mean.
not enough. Yeah. So, but we are going to Forest Service Road 301, which takes off to Fisher's Point, where you can see part of Walnut Canyon. And it is a forest road, takes you, I think it's 6 miles out there. But from the forest road are what were, I think, at one point game trails and are now other hiking and biking trails, and they are my very favorite set of them in Flagstaff. I have had coyote meetings out there. There have been raven rumbles, gullies sort of open and deepen seasonally. There are new game trails, and the birds are always busy there. And at one time, there was a tree. It is an oak tree, but at one point, a friend and I called it the moose tree because of the arrangement of its branches looked so much like a set of antlers, and then it had an arm, one very old branch that sort of protruded toward you like the long nose of
Oh
a
my
moose.
gosh.
And now, unfortunately, the snout fell off of the poor moose, and so now it is the moose tree. I don't know what you call a noseless moose, but anyway,
I don't think
it's
there's a term for that.
You don't think we have a word for that? You're
My
kidding.
My Latin's not nearly good enough to come up with a new one. Let's see. Lacking a nose. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, but just, the trees have character and in some cases have even been given characters. And I know those trails so well that I know the 15-minute loop, I know the 20-minute loop,
Oh,
I know the
handy.
45-minute loop, I know the hours loop. And every time it is a journey. I do not walk out the same way I walk in on this set of trails. On most walks, that's probably true, but I notice it especially in these set of trails. So there are plenty of people that will not share their favorite trailhead or their favorite trails with you because they don't want them to overpopulate.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think the good part about this one is that because the trailhead takes off from the side of the road, and so you have to park parallel, you can get a pretty good sense of how many people are out there. Because if there are, if the cars are stacked 6 or 8 deep northbound and 3 or 4 southbound, then you're going to run into a fair amount of folks comparatively, for Flagstaff trails.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
not a lot for a Manhattan street, but it's a whole lot for, like we have a little different frame of reference here. But if it's, just you and a couple others, you can have a very intimate journey in this set of
Yeah, we
forest.
have not done that.
No, nope. We have been out. We've taken Butler until it quits and then walked around there. And if you do as I did and mistake your trails, you can walk Forest Road 301 trailhead all the way around to where we walked, where Butler quits, and realize I am really not where I started in a very real and physical sense.
I was just
Like,
thinking, and this is when I hope I have self-service because I'm gonna have to call an Uber to get back to my car.
that's exactly right. Thankfully, the house was between the two, and so I sort of went home, fueled up, and then went and, rescued my car. There were a lot of steps that day.
Yeah.
So so they do connect, and that forest knows each other, but it feels different to me. Maybe it's because there's more canopy in the more
Oh.
eastern than on the northern side. I don't know, but I do know they feel different.
Canopy is no guarantee around Flag, is it? I mean, when you go
No.
back east some places, you go, "Oh, wow."
Yep.
And Flag is forest when it's compared to other parts of Arizona.
Yes,
But
for sure.
yeah, interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I have now taken you around my very favorite place to walk in Flagstaff. It's absolutely top 3 in Arizona.
Oh, interesting.
May not be the very tippy top, but at least top
Are
3.
you willing
Mhm.
to share loose intimations of where the others reside, or are you gonna keep that close to the vest for now?
Well, with my ongoing and, hopeless love affair with Tucson, I have Sabino Canyon
Okay.
is gonna be
Sure.
there. Mhm.
Sure.
And then I'll think about whether there is something else. It
Another
feels like
contender.
there's something kinda rattling around,
Well,
in
from
memory.
Butte or not?
No,
No,
actually,
okay.
no. I love doing that when I go to Prescott, but it might be Earl Lake, which I haven't done since I was a kid, but I just have such, fond memories of it, which was by Holly Lake. Just curious, what can you name your top 3 places to
I
walk or
can't
hike?
even well, West Fork, and we'll
Oh,
yeah,
yes, of
yeah, that's
course.
definitely way up there, but
Yes.
no, I'm
Yep.
not but I don't hike as much as you hike either.
No,
I
that's
I
true.
do other things,
You
so
walk every bit as
I
much or
city
more,
walk a
but
lot,
yeah,
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 and
yeah.
actually, the best city walks might have been Safford, where Larry and I got to walk along right next to crops, right in the middle of town that were being irrigated,
Oh,
thinking,
cool.
"We have never walked right next to crops that are being irrigated anywhere." And yeah, even city walk, when you're in Holbrook or Winslow and the sidewalks are so old and the elm tree roots push them up and they're kind
Yes,
of
I
like
love
jagged
that.
teeth, and
Yep.
so nature does not stubbornly cling to rural areas. It comes into town, and you just get a different kind of nature in town.
I remember being terribly embarrassed when I was in graduate school in a GIS mapping class, and we were doing a mapping exercise of sort of nature overlays, like bird activity in Minneapolis. And I remember looking at this and going, "There's no nature in the city. What are you talking about?"
Oh, how interesting. Well, when we're young.
And then having to do this sort of Scooby-Doo "Zoinks!" gulp when the professor
Oh,
said, "You haven't observed birds and trees and insects. What do you think those are if they are not nature?"
isn't that funny? Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
that's observing birds and trees and insects is such a delicious segue into what we're about to do
Oh,
that
good.
I will propose that we go to a break and then say birds and trees and insects again, and we're just sliding right through the sweet spot.
By all means.
All right. We are so proud Discover Flagstaff is a show sponsor. The historic train depot right there by the main drag is gorgeous and full of history. My dad loved to walk through and see all the posters, the wonderful collection of Northern Arizona treasures. He never thought to ask for advice or suggestions, but he could have. I've seen staff members call one another over to say, "Where do you think the best place to go after Sunset Crater would be?" and such like. Visit Flagstaff and drop in to visit Flagstaff.
Okay, we're back.
We
And
are.
yes, and with birds and trees and insects in mind, we are going to where?
Not very far at all. We are going to be just on the other side of Flagstaff, actually well within city limits.
Okay.
And this is kind of you and I know that we never know where the other one is going.
Yeah.
So the synergy is rich and loaded here because our new sponsor, Discover Flagstaff, is our new sponsor, Discover Flagstaff, and we're both in Flagstaff, and I'm going to go to Flagstaff day after tomorrow, and yeah, that's not a drinking game we want to play
Yeah.
anyway. um, we are actually going to someplace that doesn't sound very interesting. It's the field next to the Denny's. And the reason we're going there is
No, you're right. That is a particularly underwhelming description.
there's a researcher, he has since retired, Slobodchikoff. And I've written about Khan and talked about Khan for many years. God, probably 30 years, Julie. It's been 30 years.
There we are.
And I was working at NAU when he first came on the national scene for his research. He had been at Berkeley. He had come to NAU. He had been studying dung beetles. They have a kind of formaldehyde thing that he developed an allergy to. And if he had still been at Berkeley, he'd have been torqued because they would have said, "I'm sorry, sir, we pay you to study dung beetles, and dung beetles you must study." NAU said, "Well, what else do you want to do?" And he
Wow.
thought, "Well, there's a prairie dog field near Denny's. I'm sure I can scare up something about prairie dogs."
Nice.
And did he ever scare up something about prairie dogs? And I won't go through the whole process of how he did it, but basically recording equipment, taking things back to the lab,
Oh,
studying them,
wow.
and setting up scenarios that showed him and showed anybody else who wanted to look or listen that they may be a varmint to somebody, but they have a rich and complete community culture, and they communicate to the degree that if you and I stroll through the field and you're in a red hat and I'm in a blue hat, and we switch hats and do it again, Khan can show you where the adjective for the color of our hats switched.
Oh my gosh.
They are that good at
Wow.
communicating. And this always knocks me out when any animal can do anything for the cycle of a moon. If I were to fire a gun just up in the sky in a prairie dog's hearing, they would attach a danger flag to me, and it would last 28 days. Whether I
Wow.
ever brought a gun again, whether I brought treats, whether I didn't come back, if they saw me, that danger flag would still come out.
Wow.
And I can't tell you the cycle of the moon. I can tell you when it's full, but 28 days? You know,
So
and prairie dogs can.
but it makes me wonder, so on day 29, are you absolved and now you are no longer a
If I
threat?
have not brought a gun again, I guess I'm free to move about without that pejorative adjective being attached to me. Yeah.
Wow. Wait, may
Yeah.
we all be forgiven as quickly as prairie dogs.
It's amazing. One time some of the guys were out behind a screen and saw a coyote and were laughing because the prairie dogs hadn't flagged it as dangerous, and normally coyote is very dangerous.
Sure, yeah.
And after they got done laughing about how the prairie dogs had missed it, it was a German shepherd. The prairie dogs had better vision than the people.
Oh my
They knew it
goodness.
was a German shepherd. So it's just this incredibly complex society. And to me, calls into a larger question. We have no idea what chickens are saying. We have no
Oh,
idea,
yeah, yeah,
are there aunties in the beaver culture? I mean, we know
yeah.
way less than we don't know. And I love that Slobodchikoff was able to bring this to the larger world and show that it's their society. So that's him. Do we wanna do a question and then a break?
Yes.
Okay.
So, yes, as I recall, we were going to revisit the cheer that you could pronounce and I couldn't. And
Nostrovia. Yes.
that's it.
Which I now am told is both Polish and Russian because Russia occupied Poland for so long that the toast transcends just one culture.
Okay.
And he knew it as a Polish toast. But yeah, and I guess when I read people don't say it right and listened to it said, I thought, well, it's mighty close to being right. It's just that it's no strovia, not nas rovia.
Okay.
But all that to say,
Save them all. Save them all.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
So that's how we got here. So there are other cheers and toasts in the world that we can talk about as well, and I presume you brought one.
I do. I have, the one that I thought of, I found one St. Patrick's Day. It's known as an Irish curse, actually, and it says, "May those who love us, and those that don't love us, may God turn their hearts. And if he doesn't turn their hearts, may he turn their ankles, so we'll know them by their limping."
Oh, I've never heard that.
Yeah, I kinda loved that.
That
Yeah.
that's well, boy, yeah, I don't think that's a curse. I think that's just Irish. I think I think Irish are always a little bit rueful about something. I mean, not to generalize, but
There's a
at least
line
in
oh, that reminds me of a line in Ted Lasso where there's a player that says, "But I made no mistakes. All of you played poorly." And another player said, guys, he's not being rude. He's just South African."
Hey.
And then they all laugh it off, unless he said he's just Dutch. I don't remember the nationality, but he ascribed it to the
How
nationality, and
funny.
then it was all forgiven. So this is yeah,
Interesting.
this is very funny. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
It's not a curse,
nationality
it's
of the
just
band.
Irish.
Oh,
It's
and I've never
great.
seen Ted Lasso. I plan to do that someday. Well, I went down a bit of a rabbit hole because there's a lot you can look for and look at and look up. And one of the things that is neither exactly a toast or a curse, but that I love between Rye and his former boss, Chad, if they were going into something particularly challenging, one would say to the other, with your shield or on it, because the Spartans, when they were going off to battle, would say, basically, come back with your shield or on it. Bring honor home no matter whether you live or not. And so, with your shield or on it was kind of a like, we're gearing up and going in phrase. And
Wow.
sometimes, if I'm facing something difficult, I think, with your shield or on it. I just like that. It also reminded me that Michael Riley, who some of you remember from other stories, last time we were all together in a large group around a table for 12, in fact, said, it's always so awkward trying to make sure you've touched every glass in a group like this. And nobody wants to be left out, and yet it can be cumbersome and even maybe a little dangerous, depending on how far you're reaching. So one of his friends had said, okay, you touch the glass to the right, and then it would go around the table. Then they
Oh.
touched the glass to the right, to the right, to the right, to the right, and back to Michael. And I thought, what an efficient way of not breaking glasses or hurting feelings in a large
Yes.
group to do a toast.
That's
And
lovely.
it also reminded me that one of our dear Irish priests, when I was a kid, who would come over for things, and I don't know if this is universal or maybe again, maybe a lot of groups claim that they came up with this, but he explained that the whole reason for the clink is that you can see your drink, you can smell your drink, you can taste your drink, you can feel your drink in your mouth or in the glass. You can't hear it.
Oh,
And that the
wow.
toast is a way to hear it.
Wow. Enjoy it in all of the ways it can be.
Exactly, all the senses.
Interesting.
And then I was looking and I found one online from the San Francisco Examiner critic, and I thought, okay, this is too good to not share. So this just brought me to my knees. Here's to roses and lilies in bloom, and you in my arms and me in your room. A door that is locked, a key that is lost, a bird and a bottle, and a bed that is tossed, and a night that is 50 years long.
Wow.
Does that puddle
Wow.
you similarly?
Yes, it really does.
I thought Leonard Cohen should have said
No
that,
kidding. Yes.
but I wanna memorize that one. I don't ever wanna be without that again now that I found it.
No, yeah, you want that close to oh, yeah. That
Yeah.
says
Well, and now it lives forever on a podcast, so who said life doesn't get better, huh? Should we break and read?
Let's do.
Okay.
We have a second new sponsor, the Coogan and Martin Law Firm in Tubac. One more reason to love Tubac. It's such a charming little city, and it has a law firm that truly meets every need an attorney can provide. Real estate transactions, wills and probate, agricultural law, international transactions. They have worked together for decades. They are salt of the earth, brilliant people, and I cannot recommend Coogan and Martin more highly.
Well, hello.
Hi. Story and poem time, or poem and story time.
But first, the coffee mug.
Oh, yes, the coffee mug. Yes, 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 yes. Which so appropriately, on all counts now, is Flagstaff from the storied Flagstaff Visitor Center. And for those of you who have not yet seen the website, it has a wonderful, dramatic, shadowed rendition of that great historic train depot with a light and shadow, almost an Ed Mel light and shadow, stark edges, sharp light
Yes.
delineation, and then as you go around the corner, there's one of the beloved Santa Fe
Yep.
Chiefs, I think. Actually, it says BNSF.
Yep.
Sorry, train, I misdescribed you. But anyway, it's a great mug for a great place and a great city, and
And
things
a great
great in
sponsor,
Arizona.
and we thank them greatly.
Yes, great. So the poem today does not have anything to do with public works.
It hasn't. It is entitled Forest. Brown, scarred, and still wild despite many visits. Quiet, though never silent, accepting my need to talk, allowing wind and bird song to fill in any conversational gaps. Bright in any weather, storing light in every limb, patient without enabling, listening, not lending to sorrows, struggles, while planting wise reminders like loss requires a having first. We both reckon I've lost more than many will ever have. Living proof that one can be claimed, cut down, burned, badly used, and survive beautifully, wearing resilience and adaptation as timeless classics. This better angel hums spirituals, songs that sustain, lifting from hollows and wallows, pointing toward wonder. Sacred space. This public land befriends the same, I imagine, as all heavens, open to both coming and going while loved and longed for as a place to be. Our wishes to stay like raven hops, curious, a little silly, coming from some instinct to stay planted, meeting the need to move on.
Lovely, lovely words. And do you know what amazes me is I've never heard or thought of hollows and
I
wallows.
hadn't either
And when you
until I
said it, I
got
thought,
them
"Well, oh my
together.
gosh, of course."
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
not the major point, but in passing,
yeah.
kudos for hollows and wallows. That's never ever come up.
This is the fun part about wordplay. You have I don't know, it's words can suggest things that we don't ascribe to them right away in daily conversation. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
thank
lovely.
you.
Yeah. I'm sorry about probably losing more than most people have had. I wouldn't call you wrong, but I'm sorry.
Well,
But you're still
I
here.
wonder I really am. Yeah. Um, and, um, and there's a having first.
That reminds me of that wonderful Anna Sister song I sent you about After the Storm.
Yes,
Um,
that's right.
the fierceness in your eyes, and you go surging on.
Yeah.
And those 2 words together delighted me.
Yes, absolutely. It doesn't no, that song has amazing lyrics. And I remember when you
Yeah,
shared it with me, yeah.
yeah.
And
Well,
so what are you reading today?
so where would this be from? This would have been from the NAU book, Only at NAU, that they published in 2015 because Slobodchikoff did a lot there. And it's a very short reading, but it made my head swim because what he said was so mind stretching to me that I just was left, I'm sure, with my jaw on the table. We were having a coffee in Cottonwood. Larry was there. And he'd been talking about how every plant has 100 things going on and how ants will herd aphids like cattle because aphids secrete a honeydew and ants want it to change up every so often. So they move the aphids to another bush. And I was just thinking, really? And bees dance but this paragraph, okay, all right, I'm gonna read this a little more slowly because there's a lot going on. Animals operate on different time scales. We operate on a lifespan of about 70 years. Crickets operate on a lifespan of about 2 months. A cricket chirp at a fraction of a second, slowed down to what it would be on a 70-year time scale, sounds like an angelic choir singing. Whale song, speeded up 16 times, sounds like bird song. Bird song, slowed down 16 times, sounds like whale song. What we know now opens amazing possibilities.
Oh, amen. Yes. Yes. Check yeah, check. Mind
Okay.
blown. Yes.
Okay.
Checkity
I
check. Yeah.
I just didn't know what to do with that.
No. But oh, what an amazing observation. Time scales, he said.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
the cosmic choirs that are the same in their time scale that sound nothing the same because their time scales are so radically different. Just it's like,
okay, and now I'm spinning because scales can be so many different things. So time like
"Oh,
music has scales, and of course, we have the scales that measure weight, and you can
oh,
really
I was thinking reptile scales."
yeah, and we've got this. So you figure sort of armor or coverage, and you figure, weight or heft and span on a music scale, and that oh my goodness.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, expansion.
I've
Wow.
never likened you and I to Cheech and Chong before, but right now, I feel like we're almost like, "Wow, man, trippy."
Well, and I don't know what to say to that. So, so maybe that means we should close the show.
We can close the show. We can hear that wonderful music with the reassurance that we will be at it again in a week and that we hope people have enjoyed being with us and we have enjoyed being with them.
Thank you for coming.
Amen.
And bye for now.
We'd really like to hear from you about anything this show led you to think about. Write to us at celebratingaz.com. The wizard behind making a conversation into a podcast is Tom Heidinger. The music comes from Daniel Blattney, and I'm Dana Cooper.